Hi, I'm Daniel Kosoy, and this is United 24 Media. Russia attacked the city of Odesa, targeting civilian infrastructure. At least 10 people were killed, among them medics, police officers, and civilians. This was reported by the head of the regional military administration, Oleg. Another 43 people were injured. 30 adults were taken to the hospital, 3 of them in serious condition. Among the wounded were 4 children, aged 7, 10, and 2 11-year-olds, were also all hospitalized, but remain in stable condition.
When we arrived, we came very quickly. There were already volunteers on the spot who were the first to provide assistance. They saved the people who needed help. We saw that it really was hell. Panic, screams. Several dozen cars were on fire at that moment. The buildings, both residential and administrative, were damaged.
I was pushed back while sat on a chair. I made my way through the rubble. There were dead people.
Preliminary information indicates that Russian troops attacked the city with an Iskander ballistic missile. President Zelensky reported that an apartment building, a university, and an administrative building were damaged in the attack. Emergency services are currently working at the site. Zelensky also stated that these strikes are not random, but demonstrative, with Russia showing that it's only interested in war. 11 civilians were killed in Sumy as Russian forces launched a missile strike on a 9-story residential building. 2 children, a 9-year-old boy and a 14-year-old girl, were among those killed. According to the state emergency service, at least 89 people were injured. According to the Sumy Region Military Administration, Russian troops used ballistic missiles with cluster munitions on Saturday evening, targeting a densely populated residential neighborhood of the city. Rescuers are continuing their work at the site. More than 400 civilians were evacuated from their apartments. To follow the latest news from Ukraine, subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave a comment down below. The Biden administration has authorized Ukraine for the first time to use US-supplied weapons for strikes into Russia. This was reported by the New York Times, citing anonymous US officials. According to them, President Biden, who has 2 months left in office, is allowing Ukrainian defenders to utilize the US-supplied ATACMS weapon system for strikes deep into Russian territory. The officials stated that the weapons are likely to be initially employed against Russian and North Korean troops in defense of Ukrainian forces in the Kursk region of western Russia. In his evening address, President Zelensky responded to the news with caution, noting that actions speak louder than words.
One of the victory plan's points is long-range capabilities for our army. Today, there's a lot of talk in the media about us receiving permission for respective actions, but strikes are not carried out with words. Such things are not announced. Missiles will speak for themselves. They certainly will.
The Army Tactical Missile Systems, ATACMS for short, is a long-range munition, 4 meters in length, capable of reaching distances of up to 300 kilometers, and carries a 230-kilogram warhead. Its primary use is to take out high-value targets. Since the missiles are aided by built-in GPS and can be launched using both the M270 and HIMARS MLRS systems, the ATACMS are deadly and efficient. First reports of Ukrainian armed forces using these missiles surfaced back in autumn 2023, with then Commander-in-Chief Valery Zaluzhny sharing a video of the system launching its rockets. Additionally, successful strikes using similar weaponry, such as the British Storm Shadow missile, already targeted the Russian naval headquarters in Sevastopol back in summer 2023. The European Union chief diplomat, Josep Borrell, has encouraged the EU to allow Ukraine to conduct long-range strikes on targets within the territory of the Russian Federation. At a press briefing following the EU's monthly Foreign Affairs Council, Borrell stated that he has long held that Ukraine should be able to use Western weapons to their fullest extent.
I've been saying once and again that Ukraine should be able to use the arm we provided to them in order to not only to stop the arrow, but also to be able to hit the Arcus. I continue believing this is what has to be done. I'm sure it will be discussed once again. I hope member states will agree on that, and if not, anyone will do whatever they believe is according with the need to support Ukraine.
Lifting restrictions on long-range strikes is an adequate response, especially given the recent involvement of North Korean troops in Russia's invasion, stated Dutch Foreign Minister Casper Veldkamp. German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock also commented on US authorization of long-range strikes inside of Russia. She reiterated that investment in the security of Ukraine is investment into the EU's own security, describing the US decision as an intensification of what has already been provided by other allies.
Children have been going to school underground for many, many months, because otherwise they would not be able to go to school at all, for example in Kharkiv. And that's why it is so essential that the protection of peace and the protection of Ukraine doesn't just start above Ukraine. Instead, the right to self-defense means that you don't have to wait until a missile hits a children's hospital or a school or even a normal block of flats, but that you can of course protect yourself by destroying this military terror as soon as it is launched.
In addition, Baerbock announced the preparation of new sanctions against Iran and upcoming discussions concerning the result of US presidential elections. North Korea is likely to send 100,000 troops to support Russia's war in Ukraine as the alliance between Pyongyang and Moscow continues to deepen. This was reported by Bloomberg, citing sources familiar with the topic. They stressed that such a move was not imminent and that military support at that scale would likely happen in batches, with a rotation of troops rather than a single deployment. On November 14th, the Ukrainian ambassador to South Korea, Dmytro Ponomarenko, stated as much, adding that North Korea has dispatched at least 7 generals to Russia's Kursk region. The ambassador underlined that there are already 11,000 North Korean soldiers in the region, expecting the number to increase to 15,000. This news comes after a Russian delegation led by the ecology minister arrived in Pyongyang on Sunday for trade and economic talks, stated North Korea's state-run television, KRT. A conversation with Vladimir Putin had given no indication of a shift in the Kremlin leader's thinking on the war in Ukraine. This was reported by German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, who told journalists about his communication with the Russian self-proclaimed president. According to Scholz, it's important that the West must now make it clear that its support for Ukraine will not diminish.
This was important in order to tell him that he should not count on the support of Germany, Europe and many others in the world for Ukraine to decrease, but that it is now also up to him to ensure that the war comes to an end, also by ending it, by withdrawing troops from his side. The conversation was very detailed, but contributed to the recognition that the Russian president's view on this war have not changed much, which is not good news.
The German Chancellor and Russian self-proclaimed president held a phone call on Friday, their first talk in 2 years. According to the German news agency DPA, the dialogue lasted for 1 hour. On the website of the federal chancellor, it was stated that Scholz condemned Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine and called on Putin to withdraw troops and end the war. It was also noted that the chancellor spoke on the phone with President Zelensky beforehand and was planning to do so again after. Later in his evening address, Zelensky expressed concerns describing the call between Scholz and Putin as a potential Pandora's box.
Now there may be other conversations, other calls, just a lot of words, and this is exactly what Putin has wanted for a long time. It is crucial for him to weaken his isolation, Russia's isolation, and to engage in negotiations, ordinary negotiations, that will lead to nothing, as he has been doing for decades. This allowed Russia to change nothing in its policy, to do nothing substantial, and ultimately it led to this war. We understand all these challenges now. We know how to act. And we want to warn everyone, there will be no Minsk III. What we need is real peace.
Russia launched massive airstrikes on Ukraine over the past week. President Zelensky noted that Moscow used almost 140 different types of missiles, altogether with more than 900 glide bombs and over 600 strike drones. On Sunday alone, 144 aerial threats were downed across the Ukrainian skies, in some cases by the newly arrived F-16s, which took down 10 of the imminent threats. Among the air defenders eliminating their targets on November 17th was Private Natalia Grabarchuk, who shot down a missile using a Soviet-era anti-air Igla system. Natalia used to work in childcare before enlisting back in 2021 to become an anti-air specialist in the Galician Volyn Radio Communications Brigade, a part of the Western Air Command. That's it for today. We're Unite 24 Media. Thank you for being with us, and see you on Tuesday.